And
we're live.
okay, thank you. Welcome to the Marine Resources Committee meeting for March 1st, 2022. That's strange to say. Here it is already. I'm Senator Dave Miramont. I represent Senate District 12, which is Knox County, over in the beautiful mid-coast area. Rockland is the county seat, and the district doesn't include Washington. And we'll go around and meet the committee, first of all, and we'd like to thank our clerk, Linda LaCroix, who does a great job back behind the scenes, but today he has a nice scene for us, and Lynn Caswell, who is our analyst, who's keeps us legally in order as much as she can. And so thanks for being here. And my co-chair, Jay McCrate, if you want to say hi.
Good morning. I'm Jay McCrate, representing Harpswell, West Bath, and Northeast Brunswick in the House. And I apologize, I'll have to leave soon for a public hearing, and then I'll be back.
Thank you. Senator Maxman. No. Senator Rosen. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Kimberly Rosen, Senate District 8. My Senate district includes the towns of Bucksport, Castine, Dedham, Great Pond, Orland, Penobscot, Verona Island, Bradley, the city of Brewer, Clifton, Eddington, Holden, Lincoln, Burlington, Lowell, and Orrington, and 4 unorganized territories in Hancock and Penobscot counties.
Wow. What a
I may
district.
not get to say that again, so I just wanted to read them all off.
That's right. Oh, thank you. Hello, Representative Bloom.
Good morning. This is Lydia Bloom. I represent House District 3 in York.
Thank you. Welcome. And Representative Hepler.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Hepler, and I represent the towns of Arousik, Georgetown, Phippsburg, Woolwich, which is where I live, Dresden, and a small part of Richmond. And my list seems really small compared to Senator Rosen.
Thank you. And I don't see Representative Crafts yet, and I don't see Representative Thorne. Oh, yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jim Thorne. I represent House District 103, which are the towns of Carmel, Herman, and a portion of Etna up in beautiful Penobscot County. And I am pulling double committee duty this morning. So if you see me talking off screen, but my lips are moving and you can't hear me, that's why.
Thank you. Representative Fockingham.
Good morning. I'm Representative Billy Bob Fockingham from Winter Harbor. I represent House District 136.
Thank you. Representative Alley.
Good morning. I represent District 138, which includes Jonesport, Shields, Addison, Millbridge, Cherryfield, Columbia Falls, Jonesboro, Whitneyville, and Mashpee. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McDonald.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Genevieve McDonald, and I represent the offshore islands of Penobscot Bay and Western Frenchman's Bay. And I'm hearing a lot of interference. I'm wondering if that's just my computer or if that's everyone.
It's everyone.
I think that's Robert.
No, it's the past 3 of us who've introduced ourselves. It's something in our Zoom connection.
Okay, and Bob, would you, I'm sorry, Representative Alley, could you mute just, how you doing with being able to mute quickly and back and forth?
Oh,
Okay.
It is.
And, yeah, I don't know what it is.
how's that?
Okay, we'll keep going.
Try to mute Robert.
Great death.
Oh, it was. There we go. So it's nothing to do with his mute. Representative Fockingham, you're not muted. Okay, that's better. All right, let's see. Representative Hutchins, I do not see. Okay.
Senator?
Yes.
Representative Hutchins is having trouble getting on. I've just sent him 2 more different links and hopefully one of them will work.
Great. It's not a great day for meetings so far, starting at 8. They've all been bad, but we'll, this one's better than the others this morning. So this is good. And Representative Stanley, I didn't see her yet. Okay. So that's everyone. So thank you for being here. If I missed anyone, let me know. Hey, Representative Crafts, good morning. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm Lydia Crafts from House District 90, representing Damascata, Newcastle, Bristol, Bremen, Monhegan, and Louds Islands, and parts of South Bristol and Noblesboro.
Thank you. Okay, things have been a little squirrely so far, so folks have patience. We're going to start in, although the schedule said we're going to start with a budget briefing, we're going to mix things up a little bit and start with language review. On the agenda is LD 1898, an act to address the economic impact of federal closures on Maine's fixed gear fishing industry. LD 1908, an act to limit eligibility for commercial menhaden fishing licenses. And LD 1916, an act to create a legal defense fund for the Maine lobster industry. These are language reviews. Other surprises may arise as we go through this, but that's the schedule. And then we'll get a briefing from DMR when we finish this. This is also our last meeting to deal with our bills. Our bills are done. We will have to meet with appropriations next week for the budget part, and then we'll have a follow-up the week after to vote it out, and we have to vote out all budget stuff by then. So that's the way it seems from here, always subject to change. So Lynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first language review I'm going to show to you is for LD 1898. This was Representative Stover's bill. This had a $30 million allocation to assist the lobster industry. It was an ought to pass as amended vote, 10 in favor, 2 voted ought not to pass. Let me share my screen for you. The only changes from a prior draft that you saw at the work session is some minor technical issues. One was that it was a purchase of at least 400 lobster trap tags during 2 of the 3 prior calendar years, not a purchase of 400. So up at least 400, could be more. Another change was the requirement that there be a lobster or crab fishing license in each of the prior 3 calendar years to qualify for distribution. The requirement that to be eligible for distribution of some of these funds, an individual had to actually have a lobster license at the time of distribution. And I believe those are the only language changes that were made when the committee voted, the majority voted ought to pass as amended on that bill. So unless there's questions on that, I will then skip to, next is 1908. That was the menhaden fishing. There was a majority and a minority report. The vote was both ought to pass as amended. The majority was 7, the minority was 6. Let me pull up the majority report for you. All right, and now let me screen share this. So this is the majority report. And the difference between the two reports focused on the years of a prior license, the amount of the landings. So the majority report requires a commercial fishing license in 2 of the most recent 3 years, so 19, 20, and 21. It also required a landing of 25,000 pounds in at least one of the following years, 19, 20, 21, and included 2022. The language documentation acceptable to the department, there was a vote that the department had to have some say in the type of evidence that would be presented to them. And there was a requirement voted by the majority to require a report from the commissioner to this committee on January 15th of 2023. And that this committee would then have the authority to vote out a bill in response to that. Now I'm going to pull up the minority report for this. Similar, but not a little bit of a difference. And let's see. So this is the minority report. Again, it was a 7-6 vote. This similarly requires that an individual possess a commercial menhaden fishing license in at least one of the following past years from 2016 to 2021. The minority report only requires 6,000 pounds of landing. Majority had 25,000 pounds. The minority is limited to at least one of the following years from 2016 to 2021. And required documentation be provided to the department. The committee at the minority at the time discussed the date April 1, 2022. I believe that may be, and I've highlighted it because I was not positive what the date was that the minority group voted for. And then of course, the same language at the bottom that the commissioner must report back to this committee by 2023, and that this committee would have the ability to vote out. So I'm going to leave this up here in case those individuals on the minority report, which include Senator Miramont, Representative McCreight, Bloom, Crafts, Hepler, and McDonald. If you have any insight on whether this is correct or whether it was reflected incorrectly here, I would appreciate hearing from you. And I might.
Okay, so we have to fit into the dates that work for DMR, we want to have January 31st should be the date, not April 1st. That gives them time to work with it and is more consistent with other language. Also, I believe Representative McCreight wanted this to not go back to 2016. That was too far back. It was just going to be back 20 and 21. And in the meeting that I was talking about that with her, Director Gilbert was there. I want to just confirm with her that I heard that right. I have a note, but I thought it was 19, 20, 21, but the note says 2021. Director Gilbert, are you on?
I am. I'm having a hard time starting my video.
Okay. And do you need do you need Lynn's screen sharing?
No, I don't need the screen sharing. Thank you, Senator Miramont. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that I had understood the minority report was looking at scenario 5 from the department's, the materials that the department prepared. And we were highlighting 2020 and 2021 in that scenario as staying within the number that we were looking for. I knew that there was a question about whether or not somebody needed to have those landings in more than 1 year. And so again, just to clarify, we were only looking for the 6,000 pounds in one of those years but going back to 2020 in that particular scenario.
Okay, so minority folks, that the two things that are different than what Lynn just talked about would be that January 31st instead of the April 1st date for reporting, and using 2020, 21 for the 2 years instead of going all the way back. So any questions? I see Representative McDonald has a question or comment.
So just to clarify that date, January 31st of 2022, not 2023.
No, the reporting, this is a reporting date and it needs to be from 2021. Is that correct?
Or sorry, 2021, not 2022.
Let's confirm that. What did we talk about, Lynn?
Well, actually, I was not clear on that because it bounced back and forth. So I can explain that this is reporting on landings for the years 2020 and 2021. So I'm not sure if the date is January 31st of 22 or January 31st of 23. I'm thinking 22 because you're talking about landings in 2021.
Okay, and Director Gilbert's nodding. I'm assuming
Yes, thank you,
assent on that
Senator Mermont.
statement.
Yes, just for, again, for clarification, the data that the department prepared for the committee to look at, we were looking at everybody who had reported landings through the end of January of 2022. So that would capture all of those 2021 landings, everyone who has reported as required. We would have those by the end of January, and that's how we generated those numbers of the qualifying licenses.
Okay, it's 2022.
Correct.
Absolutely. Okay. And Lynn, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to confirm that the dates for the commercial license and the landing is limited to the years 2020 and 2021, and it doesn't go back any further than those 2 years, correct?
That's my note.
Okay.
Director Gilbert, you go ahead.
Yes, thank you again. This is my final clarification, and I appreciate the opportunity. We did want folks to understand the fishing commercially from Menhaden, that only became an option in 2021 as a distinction from a non-commercial license. So if we're just using those 2 years, you could just say, I'm not sure that as long as there's the landings criteria, I'm not sure that the commercially is necessary. So it could just be licensed to fish for Menhaden and you had those landings.
Okay, Lynn, you got that right?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so it's just to make sure it's clear to the folks on the minority report, could you just read back what we just agreed to?
Yes. So on the minority report, the criteria for a commercial Menhaden fishing license in 2023, they have to have had a license to fish for Menhaden in either 2020 or 2021. They have to have had landings of 6,000 pounds or more in at least one of those 2 years, 2020 or 2021. They have to have reported those landings to the department by January 31st of this year, 2022.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Good, thank you very much. Anybody on the minority report who has a question, a comment, or is it, I'm just going to let this go with that language at this point? Okay, thank you, Lynn. Seeing no hands, I'm going to say we've done that one. So we will move on, unless you have more on that one, Lynn, sorry.
No, I do not. That was the majority and the minority report on that. So I'm going to screen share the next one, and the last one for language review, excuse me, is LD 1916, which is the Lobster Legal Defense Fund. Now that was also a divided report. The majority was ought not to pass, 9, and the minority was ought to pass as amended. And I'm going to screen share the amendment and the minority.
Senator,
Lynn, hold on one sec. Representative Fockingham?
yes, I would like to reconsider the vote on LD 1916. I voted with the majority on that.
Okay, we have a motion to reconsider on LD, 1916. Is there a second? And there is by Representative McDonald. And any discussion?
Yes.
Representative Bloom.
What is the purpose of reconsideration if we haven't even done language review?
We're going to get the language review as part of this, but we give reconsideration as a courtesy to our
Well,
members.
why not do
usually.
reconsideration after language review so we understand what we're reconsidering?
We're going to have that, but he made the motion. We're going to follow through on this motion and vote. And then we'll get a language review and as part of the consideration or reconsideration of the motion. And he can also put out what he is asking us to change as we reconsider. So it'll all be out there.
So the
Everything will be-
reconsideration is something that this reconsideration is not just a vote. The reconsideration is for the purposes of considering new language.
It's whatever we're reconsidering it for, sure. There's no limits on. It's called reconsidering. We could just look at the same thing and then have the same votes or change them, or we could get new data and then vote again and go different ways. It's all, there's no rules to limit what can be reconsidered when we open it up. Great, okay. So we have a motion and a second. And are you ready for a vote, Linda?
Yes, I can do a roll call if you wish.
I don't want one. I'd rather do a show of hands on something like this.
Do we need to do it, Lynn, or is it as a show of hands okay for your reconsideration?
I'd like to request a roll call, please.
Okay.
Okay, great. There we go.
Very good. Senator Miramont,
Yes.
Representative McCright. Did she leave?
She's away.
Oh, okay. Senator Maxman is also not present. Senator Rosen,
Yes.
Representative Ali, Representative Fockingham,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
No.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Representative Crafts.
Yes.
Representative Hutchins is not here yet. Representative Stanley is not here yet. And Representative Thorne.
Yay.
So that's 8 in favor, 1 no, and 3 absent.
Okay, the motion passes for reconsideration. Representative Fockingham?
Thank you, Senator. I would like to make a motion to pass as amended. And
Hold on. I would like the language put out for people to know what they're voting on.
okay.
And I want Lynn to get the chance to give us the review. And then we'll give you a chance to see what's going on. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I'm going to screen share is the minority ought to pass as amended report. Again, Senator Rosen, Representative Hutchins, Stanley, and Thorne voted in favor of this amendment. The majority voted ought not to pass. So this was the Legal Defense Fund. It required funding with 20 cents from trap tags. It raised the license fee for Class 1 lobster license. It established this legal defense fund, which had a total of 10 members. The fund was paid for the legal defense. A third of it went to the Lobster Association, a third of it went to the Lobster Union, and a third of it went to the department. I'm scrolling through this because the minority report did not make any changes to the last draft that this committee voted, was presented at the work session. The amendment requires a report to this committee by January 15th of every odd numbered year. It is repealed in 2032, and there was also a provision on the distribution of any funds left over in 2032, which would go to the Lobster Collaborative and the Lobster Fund in equal parts, to one of those if there was only one entity, and then to the department if neither of those entities existed in 2032. So the minority report was the last draft of the amendment that the committee discussed at the last work session, which was on the 22nd.
Thank you, Lynn. All right. Representative Fockingham, did you want to tell us what you wanted to do?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to pass as amended, and I would like to explain my amendment.
Go ahead.
So, you ready?
Yeah, I think I got to check this one with Lynn. He's made a motion. Do I have to deal with that before he can go on to explain? That I'm not sure.
I think yes, but perhaps he could withdraw the motion and explain, and then present it as a motion to the committee.
Okay,
It
great
seems
idea.
like that would be better. So
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
I withdraw the motion, and I just want to explain to you my amendment.
Great.
So I've got the amendment in front of me. Sorry that I don't have it to screen share or quite frankly know how to do that stuff.
Well, excuse me. Excuse me.
Hold, Representative Kraft, Representative Bloom, sorry.
This is an amendment that we have to see. We're in language review. We're actually looking at the language. I need to see this language, please.
Yep.
Okay.
When we do
Maybe
language review, we'll do that, but he can present his amendment. He can also make motions. So I know that you would like that, but it's not what's happening right at the moment. So thank you
It's
for
not
weighing in.
possible.
No,
So-
not possible right now.
Okay, so maybe Lynn, if you could probably help me out, because I just simply have the minority report amendment.
Yes.
If you want to just screen share that, and I'll just tell you,
Okay.
when
Yes.
to move it up, that would serve the same purpose.
I will do that. So we're at the top of the, we're almost at the top.
So let's scroll down to 11, license surcharge assessed.
Yes.
So this is the part where in the amendment, there was a $300 surcharge put on class 1 licenses. We're going to draw a line through that. So that basically that section will be the way that it already is. Nothing's going to change there. So there's not going to be a surcharge added on that. And then okay. This oh yeah, this amendment doesn't have the, I'm not looking at this. Can you move to the part that has the trap tag fee?
Yes. And actually, I'm screen sharing a PDF. What I'd like to do is just take a second and stop this screen share and screen share it as a Word document, so I can actually make the changes in the document as Representative Fockingham describes.
That's a great idea. Go ahead and
So,
set that up, please.
yes.
It's actually how we do it at ASMFC on motions, and I
So
like that.
What Representative, if I'm correct, Representative Fockingham, you just said to get rid of this whole section on, whoops, on the lobster tag, which is quite a lot of language.
Yep.
Well, now it's not letting me. Anyways, it's not letting me do this. So
Okay,
it was a great idea of mine, but it's not working.
okay, but you found the section and you went to
Yes.
it and where it
This-
says, where to
So
go?
this would all be gone. This whole section would be gone. And now Representative Fockingham, I believe you're talking about this section up here, correct? The trap tag system?
Yep. So we're going to take that section out and we're going to replace that with $500,000 from allocation from the general fund. So essentially, this bill will no longer take money from the department, as the commissioner had, described it, was goes to the lobster management fund, which funds wardens, scientists, and a few other positions. So that would no longer be part of the bill, and I'm looking for a general fund allocation of $500,000 annually to cover that part of it.
Okay, I'm
And-
taking notes, but you can't change it, so that's good.
Yep. So then, Lynn, we're going to move to the final part, which would be use of the fund. Okay, so use of the fund. And it says 1/3 of the fund annually to be designated statewide to a designated statewide lobstermen's association to reimburse it for legal costs incurred in legal proceedings affecting the lobster industry, including but not limited to legal proceedings involving regulations of the United States Department of Commerce, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, implementing the Atlantic Large Whale Take Reduction Plan referred to in this section as the regulations, provided the association submits invoices to the commission detailing legal costs incurred and paid. So in this section, we're going to take the part that says including but not limited to, and we're going to line that out. So it's going to say legal proceedings affecting the lobster industry, comma, limited to. So essentially what that does is this makes this legal fund for only the whale rules and nothing else. And that's it. So basically, essentially what the amendment does is it doesn't take any funding away from the department, and it limits the fund to only whale rules, and it doesn't add a surcharge to Class 1 licenses. And
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to pass as amended.
All right, and we have the amendment, so we have a motion, and I saw Representative Thorne's hand first as a second. And any discussion on that motion? And Representative Hepler.
Thank you. So 2 questions. One is, if you go to the use of the fund, you change the language on part A, but part B, don't you want to do the same thing? To take out the including but not limited to and just say limited to?
Yes. So
Okay.
yes.
And I didn't go any farther to see if it's also in C. And then the other question is, so no money comes out of the collaborative?
The collaborative part stays.
Okay.
To clarify, thank you. Are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Representative McDonald.
Can you review the collaborative part
It's 20%.
from the marketing collaborative?
Yes.
And I don't see any other, I see Commissioner, welcome.
Thank you, Senator Marymount, members of the committee, Pat Kelleher, DMR. The administration continues to have concerns, even though I certainly appreciate Representative Falkingham's attempt to make changes here, but the precedent-setting nature still is a concern, where we're going to not have any control over the components of the lawsuit. So in particular, there's segments of the plan that the department have supported within the whale plans in order to move forward with as little impact to the industry as possible, while simultaneously meeting some risk reductions. There's no saying that this lawsuit potentially couldn't be utilized to raise concerns around those. So it's also it's continuing to set a precedent where in the future, where does this stop, right? From a lawsuit perspective, who else is going to get money to file lawsuits pertaining to issues? Brookfield Hydropower is suing DMR right now on fish passage issues. Do we reimburse funds to a multi-billion-dollar international company to file lawsuits? So the precedent is really concerning, and so we still cannot continue. We still cannot support it, even though it's been changed significantly. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Representative Bloom.
Yeah, I have to agree with the commissioner on this. I really do believe that this is the real problem I have with the fund in general, is that it is a precedent setting. There is no other fund like this in any industry, in any public setting as well. And I think, and if Mr. Kelleher can, clarify this for me, the whole point of having, a legal defense fund it's basically still in the public view. Is that not correct, Mr. Kelleher?
He disappeared. Hold on. I'm sure he'll be back. He's probably checking something. While he does, let's hold the question and let Representative Hutchins introduce himself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Representative Hutchins, representing District 131 on the Maine Coast. And I would like to speak in support of Representative Falkingham's motion, if I can.
Hold your thought for a second.
Sure.
If the commissioner's back, we're going to have him answer that question while it's still fresh.
Yep.
And if he's not, while he's working on getting back, I'll go back to Representative Hutchins. And Representative Bloom, as soon as he comes back, we'll jump right back to your question, okay? Okay. Representative Hutchins, go ahead.
Thanks. Like I said, I support Representative Falkingham's motion here. I think one of the things we want to take a look at, we talk about setting a precedent, but I think the precedent maybe is the other way. We haven't had an attack on a natural resource industry like is happening to the lobster industry. I don't think in our history any regulations and changes that have been made for forever have always been something worked out with the industry, and this attack on the industry is so severe that if we don't have a continuing funding mechanism, we really don't stand much of a chance of fighting. It's unfortunate that it's one government group opposed to another government group, which is the perfect definition of too much government. But I think if it is a precedent, it's one worth setting. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. I just got a note that the commissioner's computer froze. They're working on getting him back. And what else? Oh, yes. Also, you may note that Representative McDonald is paying attention, but also having to deal with her children, which we certainly understand. And I'll just say that these changes make this better. I understand the commissioner sees it that way, but I think if we're setting a precedent and it's not a good one, after 2 years, you did limit it to the biennium, or is that from previous
Yes,
language?
that's,
Okay.
yes, that's correct. This was
Yes.
just funded for one biennium.
One biennium, and it gives a chance to see if it works, and otherwise it won't be renewed. If it sets some successful precedent, then other groups should try to use it if it's working for the industry and the people in Maine agree, because they have to through both appropriations and both bodies of the legislature, get through the governor's desk, all this stuff that has to happen, and then we get to see it happen. So if it sets a precedent that's a good one, I think that's a good thing. So some of these changes make it much more palatable to me. And Representative Thorne, I'll get back to you, Representative Bloom, hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess I'm trying to understand from the commissioner's point of view, is he saying, and maybe clarify it when he comes back, but is it my understanding that his concern is that if the lobstermen have their own separate defense set up, that DMR is excluded from being able to present a case as well? Does that mean that only one can prosecute or can defend it? And that if this lobster industry fund sets forth a lawyer, for example, to defend them against the right whale, does that exclude DMR from being able to also set up a defense? Is that my understanding of what his concern is?
Thank you, Representative Thorne. And I think the commissioner popped up in time to hear your question. Did you hear Representative Bloom's question, Commissioner?
I did not. I apologize. I think the screen of death came over my computer. So I'm not sure I'm on. I ran down to Deidre's office and she is now, I see, changed my name under her computer. So I appreciate.
But let me get you Representative Bloom's question too, and then you
Okay.
can answer both of those, okay? Unless you just want them one at a time.
You can go ahead and answer if you heard Representative Thorne's question first, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. That way I don't have to walk and chew gum here at the same time. So Representative Thorne, I appreciate your question. This would not preclude DMR from our own defense. What I would be concerned about is if you had a disagreement with the other parties on positions, and we're funding with general fund dollars, the state's, in this case, DMR's defense, and then general fund dollars are also potentially going to be used to then argue against our positions in the same case, which I'm not saying that's happening now. It's one of those what if scenarios, but I think it's a scenario that we have to keep in mind.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that clears up my concern. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kelleher, can I answer?
Representative Bloom, thank you. Sorry, I just noticed I was muted.
Thank you. My question is, again, this precedent, I agree with you that this is a precedent-setting move. I also didn't realize that we're still taking money out of the marketing collaborative for this. I don't understand why we need to do that if we're going after the general fund. That's another question, I guess, for the sponsor. But for you, Mr. Kelleher, again, about this precedent setting and never having had the amendment doesn't do anything about the setup of how this money is dealt with, right? With the 10-person committee or whatever you want to call it. Isn't that opening it? Doesn't that have to be a public meeting?
I believe Representative Bloom and Representative Falkingham will have to correct me. I believe the creation of the committee was removed from this, so it would just be giving money to both MLA and the union.
Oh,
So it would just be a direct appropriation to the two groups who are involved in the lawsuits.
is that correct, Mr. Falkingham, Representative?
I was open to that, but apparently the industry that I had talked to was in favor of leaving the committee set up, possibly in case it goes forward. But so it was neither here nor there to me. But right now, I would leave it in. And once again, I did explain this earlier, but I forgot to mention it now, that it would only be a 2-year allocation. And to answer your question about the amount of money from the general fund, the reason why I'm only asking for 500,000 instead of say $1 million is because I really didn't want to ask for any from the general fund. But one of the sticking points with the department was that money being taken from the lobster management fund. So I wanted to replace that money with general fund money. But the collaborative money does not take any money from the department, so that part was left in.
So the collaborative money, we had a lot of discussion about that and how and the impact that would have on the marketing collaborative. And I cannot support taking any money from there. I would, if you were talking about the general fund, that would be different. But I can't support taking money out of the marketing collaborative. If you wanted to take that out, that might be make it more amenable. But but still, the real problem that I have with all of this is that so what you're doing is you're taking $500,000 from the general fund, giving 250 to MLA and 250 to MLU. Is that correct? And then you're also creating the committee.
Representative Falkingham. Go ahead.
So the bill designates 1/3 specifically for the association, 1/3 specifically for the union, and 1/3 for the discretion of the committee, which could be used for either the association or the union, or even to the department's lawsuit as well, and to pay for any administration that's incurred by the department.
May I ask, do we have support from MLA on this?
You have a follow-up? Go ahead, Representative Bloom.
Do we have support from MLA on this? I mean, I feel like we've got something new that we need to make sure we do. What do we have? What does MLA think of this, Representative Falkingham? Or can we bring in Patrice to ask her?
We can ask the appropriate people, and it wouldn't be to ask Representative Falkingham someone else's view. I also have Commissioners, your hand just left up from before. Okay, all right. And Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, the money, I mean, it doesn't just get sent to the MLU or the association, right? It's based on receipts that they have, actual costs that they've incurred. And I guess this is a question for Representative Falkingham.
And go ahead, Representative Falkingham.
Yeah, that's correct. It's not just a blank check handed over to them. It doesn't go to, like a fundraising account or anything like that. The money only gets distributed when there are legitimate receipt expenses for the use of the funds.
And because of the language, those would have to show that they were in defending for Atlantic right wheel, the take reduction. Okay.
Yes, that's right. That's it, and that's in the language.
Yep.
Thank you.
Representative Bloom.
Yes, thank you. So I guess Commissioner Kelleher, back to my question about this committee then being, there's a third of the money going to the committee. that is then public, right? All of everything, all of the negotiations, all the uses of that money, it's all public. Is that correct? So in other words, we're making our defense, what do you call it? Our defense strategy public.
Yeah, Representative Bloom, the way, if the committee is still going to exist, there would be, those meetings are going to have to be open to the public. They're going to have to be advertised. There is, the way I understand it right now, there is no provisions for executive sessions associated with this as well. So it would be an area that we would be concerned about, of having to have open discussions around legal strategy.
Okay, thank you. And Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am hearing two different things about the commission and the committee, and a lot of Representative Bloom's questions are around the original idea. So I'm hoping Representative Fockingham can clarify. Your original proposal had this committee that would decide which legal actions to fund, and would have these open meetings where legal strategy would be discussed. The amendment that was voted in the minority had a commission, and the commission, all the commission did was reimburse for receipts for legal proceedings. There was no, the commission was not discussing and deciding on legal strategies. So is your current proposal the commission that just reimburses, or the committee that decides which legal actions?
Yeah, no, that's correct. This is just to reimburse, so I don't see why there would be any discussion on what future legal strategy would be. These would be things that had already occurred that we're getting reimbursed for.
Okay, thank you. I'm hoping that clarifies what some of the questions were.
Thank you. Representative McDonald.
So on that topic and to that point, if this isn't a 50-50 split, and there is a third of funding going to the commission, and that commission is only reimbursing for receipts, then what happens to that other third of the funding? Would it be cleaner just to make it a 50-50 split?
Want to answer that, Representative Fockingham?
I think that's a good point, and I would be willing to just make it the 50-50 split.
Follow up, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
It seems to take the concern about legal strategy off the table if that commission is no longer discussing legal strategy and is just reimbursing for strategy that has already occurred, that might address some of the concerns shared by the committee.
It does seem like it. It lowered some hands.
I would agree to that and make it part of the amendment.
Okay, and does that mean that we do not need that committee?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, oh, sorry, I raised my hand.
Yeah, that's okay. So Representative Bloom raised her hand, but she already spoke.
Well, that's what I wanted to say. So what's if it's just a management function of reimbursement, what is that going to cost for the DMR in order to do that? So some money is going to have to be spent on personnel and time to do those reviews. Where is that money coming from?
All right, let's have Representative McDonald next. We'll come back to the answer on that if we have one.
So it's my understanding that the money to do that comes from within the fund itself. That was the language of the last amendment. Hold on. And so there still needs to be an entity, yes, that would issue those reimbursements. And just to clarify, my understanding is that would be DMR, or maybe a stream down commission. I think that is a good point to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
Hutchins. Let's get them all the questions out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It seems to me the word, if you're going to think about 50-50 split, you're going to have to say up to 50% because there are going to be some funds used for administration. And maybe you need the commission to help do that, but also by saying up to 50%, the MLA and the MLU will know basically how much money that they may be able to apply for, depending on whether they spend it on legal fees or not. And then if there's money left over, there has to be a way to keep it in the account for the next year.
All right, thank you. And I'll give you a chance here, Representative Fockingham, to answer any of that before I move on.
Yeah, just to address those costs, that's sort of why essentially by it being divided a third, and a third, it's actually, my idea was that it was actually 50-50, but just that the other third was there to cover administrative costs for the department, and then that the committee had the discretion to, if one group had incurred more costs than the other, that they had that, liberty to move that. That's why I had come up with that. But the bill does say that it must pay for any costs incurred by the department. So as long as those costs are paid for with the bill, then the remaining money could be designated half and half.
All right. Did you have a follow-up, Representative Hutchins?
No, I'm sorry. I forgot to put my hand down.
No problem. Commissioner.
I think Representative Fockingham just said what I had originally put my hand up for, that the bill does direct reimbursement from the money that would be established for anything that the department did occur. I think from our standpoint, it doesn't sound like the need for a committee is there. Certainly, and if that's the case and we didn't have to administer the committee and do all of that, that certainly would lower the cost associated with administering such a program.
So in that sense, it would be after expenses, the money would be there, and it would be only up to 50% of it. It couldn't be distributed unevenly, which is okay, because they would know what is available after expenses. And so I see what you're saying. Okay. Well, Representative Fockingham, just clear up since it's your amendment.
Yeah, I guess I'm not muted. Yeah, so this has been discussed a bunch of times, and it seems to me now that it would be a more clear way forward would be to not have a committee do this and just have the department administer the funds, as long as the bill still specified that any costs incurred, which it sounds like the costs would be relatively low if they were just being a pass through for this money, and that the money was designated half and half. So we could do away with the committee. So I'll make that part of my amendment as well, that the department will administer the funds.
Okay. You're lucky it's not Bablo doing that statement. It would be half the fund. So Representative Bloom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what I see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand this bill is that we've decided that the two best legal defense funds that we have to use public monies for is the MLU, who gets 50% of $500,000, and the MLA that gets 50% of the $500,000, plus any expenses to administer this through the DMR. These are public monies. We need to know exactly what they're being spent for. It's got to be open, transparent. And so that's what we're doing. And we're supporting, we've decided that those are the best legal defense. What about, using the general, what about the legal defense that DMR is doing right now? What about all of that? Why is it only MLU and MLA getting these funds? Am I wrong in my assessment here?
It seems to be what this bill does, is to fund other avenues from the ones that are already funded. That seems to be correct. Representative Hutchins, you answering that, or you have a question?
Thanks. Trying to answer it. I think going at it in two paths like that, especially using MLA and MLU, no one knows the industry any better than they do. We, as a state, are using a group from Washington State, which I'm told by a lot of people are fantastic people working with it, with the lawsuit, and that's all good. But they're from Washington State. It doesn't seem to me that they could possibly be any better than MLA and MLU. And I'm not saying we shouldn't use the folks from Washington, but I'm just saying if we are going to need extra help, we're better to look at than MLA and MLU. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative McDonald?
To Representative Hutchins' point, the defense teams are not actually the MLA and MLU. They may have attorneys that are from out of state or elsewhere as well.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Representative Hutchinson, I think inadvertently just made me incredibly nervous because we will be talking during the budget briefing later this morning about our request from the department for general fund money. And so I don't want to, we've already talked about that briefly, but we need to be in a position where one of these funds does not compete against the other. Because I can tell you, if the legislature says, well, we're going to put the money into just MLA and MLU, who can fundraise, by the way? We cannot fundraise for this. So if it becomes a competition to fund one or the other, you may find where Maine DMR has to then remove itself from the legal proceedings if we do not have our funds appropriated to us. So I don't think you are meaning to give me heart palpitations, Representative Hutchins, but I am concerned about how you presented that.
Thanks, Commissioner. I have to say that you always under ask and then give us way more than it seems like we're going to get for our money in your budget. It seems like the common thing to say, geez, you need more. Why aren't you asking for more? But so I bet you'll always be funded, but it's not a guarantee. Representative Bloom.
Yes, I think this is a major issue that we're spreading our resources far too thinly for this very important fight that we are making right now and putting a lot of energy towards. This is about the lobster industry. This is about everyone working together. But I think this is the most important point, is that we have to use general fund money to support the work of what we do in the government. We can't support the work of private organizations. I don't see that, especially if it's going to dilute our ability to do this work. So I'm very much, I am not in favor of this amendment. I am not in favor of this idea, because I do believe that we need to hear more from Commissioner Kelleher on exactly what he needs to do, what he's already set out to do, and what the administration is already doing for the Maine lobstermen. And also, we haven't even heard from Patrice McLaren, and I understand she may be available.
Thank you. And Representative Hutchins, is that leftover hand?
No, it's not a leftover. Yes, it is. I still am willing to speak. Thank you. It's still not a competition. I don't want to give Pat too much heartburn. Pepsid sometimes isn't enough, but if we still have two approaches, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. They're not going to be in competition. To my way of thinking, they were working together, and you would be getting the very best advice you could possibly ask for by bringing these groups in. And as Representative McDonald says, their attorneys, may not be somebody that lives on Isle of Ho either. But that aside, this problem that we are facing, the crisis, I think perhaps is well said, needs to be addressed, very strong, and going at it and showing that we're going at it, sort of say, with both barrels instead of a single shot, maybe is not a bad idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Representative Fockingham.
Thank you. I just wanted to address a couple things. The first thing I wanted to address was the fact that this is general fund money. And although I am asking for some general fund money, I only did that because the money that I was trying to get came from fishermen, and it was being viewed as removing funding from the Department of Marine Resources. So even though I wanted that tag money because I felt it was ours, I'm willing to not take that money because the commissioner wants it to fund his department, essentially. With that being said, there's $2 million there that's our trap tag money that's being used to fund the department. And also, with that being said, I don't have the math on this in front of me, but I know that I pay $400 up until this year. I had paid $400, and now I'm paying $600 for trap tags, which raises $2 million for the department. My license fee is $888. So just the quick math tells me that my license fee is twice my tag fee. So if you just did carry that math over, if the tag fee raises $2 million, then that must mean that our lobster licenses probably raise about $4 million. Now that license fee money that comes from only lobster fishermen, that $4 million goes directly to the general fund. It doesn't fund the department, it goes directly to the general fund. So the fact that I'm asking for $500,000, yes, that's general fund. Yes, it can be referred to as taxpayer money, but I'm here to tell you that lobster fishermen, just in license fees alone, are funding $400 million to the general fund. That's not counting the money that exponentially comes from the lobster industry, our state revenue taxes. I can't even tell you the amount of years I've paid $10,000 in Maine Revenue Service. And that goes for a lot of us, and it's a lot higher than that. I'm not one of the big dogs. So a lot of money comes from the lobster industry. So even though it can be referred to as $500 of taxpayer money, there's a lot more than that that's being put into that from the lobster fishermen. And like I said, maybe Pat can come and correct me, but it's going to be probably $4 million alone from license fees. The second thing about this money that's being put into the MLA and the MLU, the DMR is doing a good job as intervener, but there are only two plaintiffs in lawsuits right now, and that's the MLA and the MLU. The DMR is only an intervener in those cases. So as great of a job as they can do and funded and all the other thing, the fact of the matter is the only two plaintiffs in lawsuits on the whale rules are the MLA and the MLU.
Okay, and just to clarify, that was 500,000 from the general fund was the request in this amendment, and 4 million is what goes into the general fund from licenses approximately by your estimations. It just make sure that those numbers are clear. Representative McDonald.
Thank you. I would like to move the question and hear a summary of the amendment to date from our analyst, please.
I can get you the summary. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chair.
we'll come back to the vote on moving the question because that needs a vote.
So I'm going to share a screen, I believe. That is a Word document. Nope, I keep sharing the wrong thing. While you have been talking, I've been trying to make changes. Are you seeing a Word document?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is what I believe Representative Fockingham is proposing. The language about the trap tags is gone. The language raising the license for class 1 is gone. The commission remains, the Lobster Legal Defense Commission, which has 10 members. They serve 2-year terms, includes the commissioner or the commissioner's designee. They still exist. That hasn't changed. Their duties are the same. Their duties include reviewing receipts for reimbursement from the Lobster Union and the Lobster Association, and then making requests for the department to distribute funds. And this remains in effect until 2032. So that hasn't changed. What has changed is the funding.
Can I stop you right there, Lynn?
Yes.
This is just going to be a 2-year.
Okay.
It's going to be funded for 1 biennium. So if it's going to have to come up for renewal by the next legislature.
All right.
It's not going to go to 2032. It's only going to be funded for 1.
Okay, so I'm going to put in 2024, but it might be 2025. So, okay, so there's that change. I don't know if I got the date right, but it's not 10 years out, it's 2 years. So then the other change is in the Lobster Legal Defense Fund. There is no contribution from the trap tags. However, there is still 20% of the license surcharges going into the fund. And I would have to add general fund allocation as well. So this creates the fund. The fund is distributed. I'm not sure if Representative Fockingham is having this distributed a third, or 50-50 with the department being reimbursed for any of their costs. So that I was not sure of what the final proposal was from Representative Fockingham.
It was 50-50 after any costs the department incurs.
Okay, so I'm putting in 50-50 with DMR costs paid. And then this gets changed. So then, so 50-50 with DMR costs incurred. The department distributes the funds. That hasn't changed. The report will change a bit because it's only going to be a one-time thing. So we'll do 2023 or 2024? 24.
24, right?
And then the assets at the end. So then the assets are distributed at the end. Would it still be some going to the Lobster Collaborative, some going to the Lobster Marketing, the Lobster Fund? Does that remain, Representative Fockingham?
And the date's wrong, but yeah.
Right. I think you're still muted, Representative Fockingham.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it would only go back to the collaborative because that's the only one that the money is coming from.
Okay. So it would go to the collaborative.
And if the collaborative's not there, then it would go to the department, the same as the original amendment.
So then it would be collaborative, I can't spell, but you all know what I mean. And then there is the 500,000 general fund appropriation, and these dates may be wrong. I threw this in. This is not OFPR's work, but that would become part of the bill. So part of the bill would be the 2 years of 500,000. And I believe that's your amendment. Did I get that correct, Representative Fockingham?
2 years of 500,000, yes, and also we were taking the committee out of it and making the department the distributor. I know that's not a good word, but
So there's no commission.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again. No commission. There's a lobster legal defense fund that's being created by this bill. It's funded with license surcharge, 20% license surcharge, plus 500,000 for each of 2 years. The Lobster Legal Defense Fund is distributed to the Lobster Association and the Lobster Union in a 50-50 split. The department is in charge of distributing the funds based on receipts. The department is reimbursed for their costs. This lasts for 2 years. At the end of the 2-year period, the funds go back to the collaborative or to the department if the collaborative no longer exists.
Thank you for that summary.
Yes. Yeah, and you'll make sure the dates are right, and we'll do language
Yes.
review
Yes.
next week when we're probably, I don't know, wherever we're going to do it somewhere if we get the opportunity here. Representative Bloom.
Thank you. Something that bothered me earlier, I want to clarify from the department exactly what their status is with, as an intervener or as a plaintiff, or how that works. I want to make sure I understand if that was a correct assertion. May I hear from the department, please?
Friendly point of order. I have made a motion.
You're right. Thank you, Representative McDonald. You made a motion to move the question. Is there a second for that? Representative Hepler seconds. And we good with a hand vote on this one, Lynn?
I think you should probably do a roll call.
We will then when Linda's ready.
I am ready.
Point of order, please.
Go ahead, Representative Bloom.
If we do this, move the question, we vote on that, and then what? And then we have to vote on this amendment immediately.
Yes.
And I
would
Lynn,
like-
go ahead. Lynn has a more thorough answer. That's
Yeah,
how she keeps
thank you.
me out of trouble.
well, and I will say Representative Bloom kept me out of trouble. So if it's the vote on move the motion, I think can be hands.
Okay.
And
And then we must follow up with voting the question because that's what we are moving this motion for. Okay, good.
I would
thank
like, I would like to make a request to the chair, please, for caucus.
Okay. I'll certainly honor that. And see, now I think that's Representative Hepler is going to help us with that. And
Yes. Yep. I am going to send a link to your legislative emails.
okay,
Okay.
so Democrats, and we'll do that. Republicans are on your own for making your caucus work, if you want to have one or not. We'll stay 20, let's come back at 10:30 will be the target time. You know how that is, but anyway, 10:30 approximately. Anything more, Representative Hepler? Okay. See you at approximately 10:30. Turn off your video and audio if you're going to still be
Very good, yeah. Yes, sir. What's that? Sure, yeah. I don't think so. I haven't seen it yet. Well, and one of the things she doesn't realize, the motion to move the question is not debatable. And we end the meeting, basically. And so we want to be sure to bring that up just as soon as, because I think we might as well vote on it. I think I'll vote. Yeah. Well, I think it's not too bad the way it is. Two different groups can't fund something like this. And like I say,
That works, Cindy.
Representative Libby. Thank you, Supi. Senator Kyan.
Just wanted to mention that if you're looking through your emails, Subi puts the little exclamation point that high priority. So that way it's easy to recognize the things that really need our attention. So just thought I'd point that out for those that might have not noticed.
Thank you, Senator Kyan. Is there anything else, Supi?
That is it for me right now. Thank you.
Okay, and Peggy, do you have anything for us at this time?
I did not. I was staying off camera because I didn't want you to think I found anything for you. But I will be, tomorrow's a really big work session. So I will be sending you.
Representative Thorne, you're not on mute.
Posting them for tomorrow.
Thank you.
So
Bob, stay right there. Don't go anywhere, okay? All right. Okay, folks, you keep talking. I'm going to talk to Bob Allen. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Bob.
Good. Somebody can hear me anyway. Senator Merrimack was. You'll speak to me, buddy. No, I guess probably it's on the other phone.
You sure? Yeah, Mickey Carmichael was the representative for down in Dedham.
Oh, he's changing to that, moving
Yeah.
that down. Oh, good, good.
Huge. He goes from Cherryfield all the way up to where
Yeah.
he lives by Lincoln.
Wow.
Hello again, everyone. We're just there at 10:30, I show, so there, we'll wait. I left the caucus before the others were done. Hold on, my computer's doing weird things. Here I am back. Okay.
Yeah, I'm back.
So we'll just give them a few minutes. I see Representative McDonald is coming back in. Hello.
Am I back on?
Okay. We have a couple more we'll wait for.
Not quiet enough on here.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a couple more people to come back. I don't seem to have lost Representative Hepler altogether. Really, the caucus ended just at 10:30, so give them a few minutes. Maybe people wandered off for a minute. How about staff? You need a break? Or you okay for a few more minutes?
I'm good.
Yes to a break. Yes. Okay. We're going to give another 10 minutes here to let people come back. No, Lynn.
No, we don't need them.
That's right. Linda and I
Okay.
are good.
All right, never mind. Look at that. I think probably Representative Hepler wants to be here. I don't know if Representative Bloom wanted to say anything more or if he has a chance anyway, so.
Point of order.
Yes, Representative Hutchins.
We're voting on a motion to stop debate. Remember, there's no debate on
That's
it.
right. That's why I said if she gets a chance. So there's probably not. The debate will come when we vote the motion, when we vote the bill, but I doubt we'll miss that. Okay, folks, so we had a bunch of technical issues with the Zoom, with the caucus call. I wondered why a couple people weren't there, but they have now weighed in by phone that they really were trying to be there and the links weren't working, and it's not fair not to allow them to caucus. So we're going to have a Democratic caucus. Dems all should have a link emailed to you, a new link for a Democratic caucus. And so we're going to give a little more time for that. I don't think it'll be long, or actually I'm not going to let it be long. So I'm sorry, but just have some patience here. And Representative Alley, do what you can. If you want to come over to caucus, that'd be great. You should have a link somewhere. You do have to quit this meeting and then go to that one and then come back and forth. I know it's a pain, but, and Linda, what would you like?
I just want, if you can let them know, I just resent the link to this meeting in case they lost it or have trouble getting back in. So they can
Okay,
click the
good.
new link and re-register.
There'll be a nice fresh link to get back into this
That's
meeting at the
right.
top of your inbox in your legislative email or
Yes.
wherever you ask your emails to be sent. So the most recent things are in your email, Democrat, should be your caucus link, the new one, and then a link back to this meeting. Everybody else, and Billy Bob, you started this, so I mean, Representative Fockingham, so hang in there. We'll be back. And I'm leaving, but Representative Alley, your microphone is not muted. So anything you say or do here will be heard and seen. I'm just warning you, if you're staying there, you might want to mute or not say anything.
I'm gonna mute right here. How's that?
It's not muted. Someone let Representative Alley know when he's muted, please. Okay, I'm leaving. Thank you.
You're muted.
No, I don't see anything that says caution streaming.
Okay, that meeting is over. I'm back with you folks over here. Thanks for your patience. We are going to give a couple members time to transition. Representative McCray, did you see that the email with the new link to come back into this? You did, okay.
I'm here.
Great.
Thank you.
What else do we have on our schedule today? Just out of curiosity.
We're going to get a budget briefing from the commissioner of the department in a minute. So I would say we have a quorum. If everybody turns their cameras on, and actually the members have mostly done that. Yes, we have a quorum. Welcome back, everybody. We will continue. As I remember, we're in a position of having a motion and a second to move the question. And we need to vote on that by a show of hands. All in favor of moving the question, raise your hands. Great, thank you. That passes unanimously of those who are here. So the question is LD 19. Hold on, wrong computer. LD 1916, an act to create a legal defense fund for the Maine lobster industry as it has been amended, and that we've discussed that a lot, but Representative Bloom.
Do we have any discussion at this point? Can I ask a question again?
You're going to get discussion.
The
but we
question
have
has
to-
been moved.
Yep, now we need a motion. I don't think we don't have an open motion, right? For the actual amendment? We do have an open motion. Perfect.
Yes, ought to pass as amended by Representative Falkingham and seconded by Representative Thorne.
And we must vote now. The discussion part. We don't have discussion now. We have to vote. Correct, Lynn?
Right, that's right.
Yep. Nope, we don't. Representative Bloom, no more discussion. When you're ready, Linda, we'll do that by a voice vote.
Yes. Senator Miramont,
Yes.
Representative McCright,
Yes.
Senator Maxman,
Yes.
Senator Rosen,
Yes.
Representative Alley.
Yes.
Representative Falkingham.
Looks like he's having internet trouble again. He's been struggling with it all morning. We'll make sure he gets to vote.
Okay, Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Hepler,
Yes.
Representative McDonald,
Yay.
Representative Crafts,
Yes.
Representative Hutchins,
Yes,
Representative Stanley is absent, and Representative Thorne.
Yay.
All right, so that is 11 in favor and 2 absent at the moment.
Okay, 11 haven't voted in favor and 2 having a chance to vote, which will not affect the outcome. LD 1916 as amended, an act to create a legal defense fund for the Maine lobster industry, it does pass. And thank you for all your hard work in trying to figure this one out and making the changes. And I hear it in both the caucus and out here in the room. It wasn't about not wanting to support the industry or figuring out a way to do it. It was about how to making sure we were not running afoul of the law and all that. And we seem to have worked out those questions, but all that did was just reinforce that we all really want to support an industry that's under a lot of pressure at the moment and do it in the best way so we don't have any stumbles along the way. Thank you very much for all that. And Representative Bloom.
Yeah, so the next dealings with this bill will be a language review, correct?
Yes, and when we don't, I guess it'll be 2 weeks from now, if that fits under the rules of reporting the bills out. If not, we're going to have to set up something around next Tuesday. We'll have 2 different meetings.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
I do believe that you are allowed to do language review after the 11th.
Okay, all right. If there's no change to that, then next week we will just have where we join the AFA for our budget part. And the week after that, we meet again to vote that part ourselves. So seems backwards, but anyway, Lynn's agreeing with me, so we're both backwards or we're both right on today. So that's what will be happening. So the next 2 Tuesdays, we will have something. And next Tuesday, it's on at 1 o'clock, right? The joint AFA meeting. Okay, and we'll get a link for that so we can meet there. And again, I'm sorry, I raised this earlier, but is it a hybrid meeting or just a straight Zoom?
My understanding, it's a straight Zoom.
Okay, so you can do what you usually do when there's a meeting. If you need internet in the State House, you can go there, make sure that Linda knows that you showed up so that the appropriate paperwork can be approved and filed. But even if you show up at the State House, it will be to sit somewhere with your computer and be on the Zoom meeting. And I'm not sure if they will throw you out of the AFA if you go there to do it, but it's not set up to be an in-person double horseshoe. Okay, the week after that will be one of our Zoom meetings here. We'll do language review and do whatever we have to do around the budget. And then we'll be done, theoretically. Okay, so that takes care of your part, Lynn, but you want to talk some more?
I do. I just want to remind you all that the link for the joint hearing with AFA comes from AFA and not from the Marine. So be on the lookout for an AFA meeting link.
Thank you very much for that. And if you're done, we've all had breaks, everything's good. Now we'll look for the commissioner and Director Gilbert to come in and do the review of what we need to know for next week.
Thank you, Senator Marymount, Representative McCrate, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Marine Resources. My name is still Pat Kelleher, and here to do an overview of our supplemental budget request that is part of the governor's supplemental budget overview for 22 and 23. I've got, it's really not a whole lot to go over, but I want to make sure that we answer questions. But before I do, there's been a lot of conversations over the last several weeks about general fund contribution and how much general fund money the department does get associated with the work that we do. Representative Hutchins, I think, brought this up several times, and I just wanted to report. I had staff run a report for me. 10 years ago, when I began as commissioner, our general fund allocation to the department was just a tad over $9 million. And over the last 10 years, we've had steady growth. And in 2023, the general fund contribution is $15.5 million. So we've had a significant increase in general fund contribution to the work that we do, and that would have not have been possible without the support of this committee. So I want to continue.
Commissioner, excuse me 1 minute. Hold on. Representative Fockingham, okay. I don't want him to miss this. It's important. And he was having trouble getting in, and we were having trouble getting him in, but he seems to be here. Acknowledge that you hear us, Representative Fockingham. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead.
Great. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure, especially after some comments that were precipitated, I think by Representative Hutchins around general fund contributions, that you are aware of how much we do receive. And what I'm going to present to you will be, if supported, would be an additional $2 million over what we currently are being allocated. The initiatives for DMR can be found in the supplemental budget part A, and those are on pages 136 through 140 in the budget document. What I believe you should all have a brief overview of this, which is much easier to walk through than actually going back and forth in the budget document. I think Lynn should have sent that around to everybody. Do you all have that? You do have that. Okay, great. And Lynn, I think Michelle Palmer on my staff may be in the waiting, along with potentially Cole Canowit, Director Canowit, and Deputy Commissioner Mendelson, if it's possible to bring them in, just in case I need backup. Representative Hepler is always asking me tough questions, and I need backup sometimes. So just see if you're paying attention, Representative. So I'm gonna start off with something that this committee hasn't spent a lot of time discussing over the last few days, and that's legal services. I'm sure this is a new topic to you all, so I want to make sure we cover it thoroughly. Under the budget, under legal services, this initiative establishes one-time funding for the increased cost of legal services to the Department of Marine Resources related to pending litigation in the DC Circuit regarding the protection of North Atlantic right whales and the authorization of the lobster fishery by the National Marine Fisheries Service. This funding supports the department's intervenor status in two cases, both the Center for Biological Diversity case and the case brought forward by the Maine Lobstermen's Association against the National Marine Fisheries Service. These are pending in the DC Circuit. And we also have costs associated with monitoring the Union case versus Secretary Raimondo, which is in the Maine Federal Court. And these funds are used to supplement money that has already been given to us by Governor Mills from her discretionary account, as well as some other funding that we have within the department that allowed us to do the contract and initiate the hiring of our outside counsel. And as I've said in the past, the ability to hire outside counsel is an approval process through the Attorney General's office and with the governor. So they both have to be in agreement in order to ensure that we can hire outside counsel and not utilize our counsel within the AG's office. I want to just make sure it's clear. Representative Fockingham in a prior conversation talked about the status of plaintiffs. The department is not a plaintiff. We have an intervenor status, but that gives us very broad rights within the case. We can appeal if needed, and I shouldn't use the word standing, but it does not leave us out of the discussions. We're filing motions and briefs associated with all aspects of these particular cases. The only plaintiffs are the MLU in the case in the Maine Federal Court. MLU is a intervenor in the two cases in DC, as DMR is, and then the MLA is a plaintiff in the case that they brought forward against the National Marine Fisheries Service, and the union is a intervenor in that case as well. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that so everybody understood kind of the playing field of that. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know where he disappeared, or Representative McCrate. How would you like me to stop at each one of these, or would you like me to finish the presentation and then come back?
I have a question, actually, if I could ask.
Sure.
Is that okay, Senator?
Of course, and I think you should take questions as you go because it's hard to remember that many different
Okay,
issues
thank
at
you.
once. Thank you.
So I'm looking at, I think, the right document, and I'm trying to follow along. For the legal services, are you talking about page 137?
I believe I'm using the department cheat sheet in this matter,
Oh, okay.
Which is terrible when I've got my it's titled Department Marine Resources Supplemental Budget Overview 2022-2023.
I don't know what I'm looking to see how much funding is in for the legal services.
Yeah, I probably should have stated that number, Representative. It might have been a little clearer. So our request is for $980,000 for one-time fees as part of our supplemental request.
If somebody there can point to pages in the supplemental document that we've been given that has page numbers, well, I don't know all of them, but 137, A137.
Yeah, so this is A137. I will reference those as I go through. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Okay, I see it. I see it now.
Okay.
I've got it.
Did you have a specific question about that, Representative?
Yeah, now that I found it, thank you. Because I was looking at something that was a very different figure. But my question is that a sufficient amount for what you're facing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And for what we're facing in the two cases that are referenced, it is a sufficient amount. It is not a sufficient amount if the department needs to go beyond that. For instance, if we have a negative ruling that we believe we should appeal, then this would not be enough to go in that direction. I can tell you that I have had ongoing conversations with Governor Mills on this. In fact, we discussed it over the weekend. She is supportive of an increase in this line. And I think we will be bringing some changes to you in the form of a change package.
And would that be before we meet with AFA or?
My hopes is I will be able to give you the number prior to the meeting with AFA.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear the governor's supportive. Thank you. I thought she was.
Any other questions on legal services?
Don't see any.
I'll move on to climate adaptive monitoring and assessment. This is initiative 202, part A 136, in the amount of $250,000. Oh, Representative Thorne, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd ask you after if it was possible, but you mentioned that this current litigation, is that the correct terminology that's
Yeah.
underway between the National Fisheries Service and the MLA and the National Fisheries Service and the MLU, which are two separate?
Those are two
if you will.
separate cases. Yeah, the union case pertains strictly to the closed area, the LMA1 closed area, and that case was brought forward in federal court in Bangor. The MLA case is again against the National Marine Fisheries Service and is part of what is being litigated in the First Circuit in Washington, D.C.
And where does NOAA restrictions fit into that?
NOAA restrictions. So obviously the National Marine Fisheries Service will be opposing, likely very much opposing what we're trying to accomplish with the MLA case. They, the MLU case, they were in opposition, in fact, appealed the decision by Judge Walker, and the First Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the Walker decision to reclose the LMA1 closed area. The case that MLA, MLU, and DMR are interveners in, which is the Center for Biological Diversity case versus the National Marine Fisheries Service. While we're interveners on the side of the National Marine Fisheries Service, because we have to be protective of the biological opinion, because without it, we would not have a fishery. We are also arguing very different points likely than what the federal government will be arguing.
Because I know there's different issues that are being challenged, and one of which is the off limits area,
yes,
as well as, you know, the restrictions, the to ropes and so forth, and so I know they're different separate cases that involve different litigation. So
yeah,
just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. There's a lot of moving parts here, so I appreciate the question for clarification.
All right, so what's distracting me here from seeing hands is, again, that reference to what you're going to talk about next. How does that refer to our page, or did you give us a page number?
Maybe if it would help, I can have Michelle Palmer actually share the document on the screen that I'm utilizing, if that would help the committee.
Yep, thank you.
Michelle, I think you're right there.
Pat, you might also want to point people to the Part A reference there. It does show the page number for the supplemental.
Our pages are different.
It does not in ours, Meredith. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Michelle, are you right there?
I am. I'm trying to get my screen to come back on. It does reference the page numbers, and just 1 second, I'll try to share my screen.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, the document that the department commissioner is referencing, I believe it came in an email yesterday, maybe from Linda and not from me. So it was somewhere in your inbox, there should be the department's document.
Okay.
But I will resend it to everyone right now.
The joys of not being in person. Well, we can see you, Michelle, now, anyway.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't get my screen to come back on. Share, just 1 second. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can. And Lynn's email has come through, so that those of you who have it up on a big separate screen because your vision is not what it used to be, will be able to see it on their screen too. So that's
very
enough
different
places, I think.
Yeah, this will just help summarize and show you the lines from the document that you're all using. So, Michelle, if you could scroll down so I can see the climate adaptive monitoring and assessment. Perfect. So this initiative provides funding to support climate adaptive monitoring and assessment work for Maine's coastal fisheries in collaboration with the University of Maine. This funding will allow the state to proactively respond to accelerating climate change on Maine's marine resources and associated fisheries. Climate change is impacting the distribution and abundance of marine species faster than state and federal fisheries management can act. And a combination of long-term long-term management programs and regional assessments is needed to provide critical adaptive management advice for both near and long-term horizons. So this is Initiative 202, Part A 136, and is for $250,000 ongoing. And just to give put some more meat on the bones here, this is something that President Ferramundi from the university and I have been talking about for some time. Many moons ago, prior to my becoming commissioner, probably 10 years prior, the department actually paid for and funded a professor at the University of Maine, a professor by the name of Yan Chen, who has since left the university, and they're in the process of hiring him. Because of budget cuts well over a decade and a half ago, the department was not able to continue to support the position, but the university saw its value and was able to pick it up. And so what we're envisioning is actually a very similar model where we're leveraging a position within the university. That position then can have both undergraduates and grad students working on high priority areas for the agency. And then it would leave additional funding for some of the monitoring and assessment work that can be done by the university beyond what the department has capabilities for. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have in regards to this initiative. Oh, you're on mute, Senator.
I was saying we can't see everyone, so if you have a question, speak up.
Representative Thorne.
Thank you. I think it's I have a yellow hand against a light colored wall. But my question is this again, you mentioned one-time fee for just fiscal year 23, or is this an ongoing funding request?
This would be an ongoing funding request.
Okay.
I don't hear anyone, so go ahead. Everybody up again, and I can only see 6 people at a time, unless I scroll.
Well, when we finish, we can open it up for full questions. But Michelle, could you continue to scroll down?
Right up, and if it's not, wait. Everybody.
So this next initiative is very specific to public health and expands and improves our work as it relates to climate change in public health. The department's requesting 4 new positions for the Bureau of Public Health. The Bureau is tasked with implementing the National Shellfish Sanitation Program and monitoring the various economically important shellfish resources of Maine, including both wild harvest species such as softshell clams and farm-raised products like oysters. Climate change and the increase in popularity of aquaculture shellfish has really driven a lot of the need here. Modified deep water currents and warm waters within the Gulf of Maine are transporting an increased abundance of novel marine phytoplankton that cause harmful algae blooms, such as amnesic shellfish poisoning, which first arrived in Maine waters in 2016. Warm waters and the increase of oyster and hard clam aquaculture have also led to increases in Vibrio-related illnesses in Maine. Vibrio are a naturally occurring marine bacteria that thrive at high temperatures and can cause serious negative health outcomes if specific control measures are not implemented to prevent bacterial growth. The monitoring and managing of these emerging threats to public health is a very high priority for DMR, and that is why we're bringing this initiative forward today. And I don't want to underscore the severity of amnesic shellfish poisoning or Vibrio. These are both public health issues that actually can result in death. And what we're finding is that Director Canuet in her role is finding it harder and harder to maintain large areas of open access without increased monitoring to ensure we protect public health. But Director Canowit is on as well. So if we have any questions, either Cole or I can try to address them.
Senator, can I ask or make a comment?
Please.
Thank you. I've heard of this concern from aquaculture farmers as well, that they support monitoring. They don't want to be contributing to any disease or harm to the industry, harm to people. So I think this is important, as you said.
Thank you. If there's no other hands, we'll continue on with the central services allocation. These initiatives are all, Michelle, are these the initiative numbers, the page numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
So right on here, it tells you all the page numbers for these initiatives in the little boxes.
Show you.
So it's
Put your cursor on it, please. Okay, perfect. So A137 are the initiatives, and the total here is for an FY22 $99,000, and FY 2023 $101,000. So we have 3 initiatives that request funding in response to central service rate increases. The first one is the Office of Information Technology. This initiative provides funding for the additional cost in new vehicle radio installations completed by the Maine Department of Information Technology. The increases cannot be absorbed by the current Marine Patrol budget. The radios that we're referring to here are the police radios that are in our vehicles, in our Marine Patrol vehicles. And the cost has increased significantly as far as the installation and the purchase of those new vehicles, new radios for the vehicles. The next item is the Office of the Attorney General. This initiative provides funding for an additional legal service or lawyer by 1 full-time assistant attorney general for litigation, settlement review and negotiation, rulemaking assistance and review, and other consultation as needed. This position is a shared position between the Department of Marine Resources, the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and the Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry. And then lastly is the Natural Resource Service Center. This initiative provides funding for the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. This is the NRCS rate increase related to salary adjustments and providing collective bargaining. So this is the human resources side of the service center. And for those of you not familiar with the service center, this is the service center that supports not only DMR, but all of the other natural resource agencies, including IFNW, DACF, and DEP. And with that, I will pause if there are any questions.
Representative Thorne.
I'm a freshman legislator, so bear with me. In your budget review on the NRSC, Commissioner, you mentioned that some collective bargaining fees.
It's the cost of it's the result of collective bargaining. I shouldn't call it a fee. So as the result of any collective bargaining, we would see an increase in payroll. So this would cover those increases.
Is that built in, do you know, or is that negotiated yearly?
It's not yearly. I'll have to get you the exact time frame, but
okay.
depending on the contract, Representative, right, it could be every 2 to 4 years.
So is this speculative, or is this set in stone, this amount that you're figuring?
Well, this I would say it's set in stone, Representative. This request is in response to the billing that we are receiving from the service center.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Want me to put your hand down or you're going to do it? Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll scroll down to the transfers and reclasses. The department also has several initiatives related to transfers and reclasses. The first would provide funding for a resource management coordinator. This position was transferred, as you all might remember, from the Maine Department of Transportation in FY 2018 to support the in lieu fee program, which is still in development in the Bureau of Sea Run Fisheries and Habitat. This position also serves an essential role in providing support for federal, state, and local coordination of fish restoration activities worth tens of millions of dollars to ensure the continued support for restoring Maine's marine resources by leveraging the position for increased federal funding that supports restoration, improved road infrastructure and safety, and climate resiliency. Permanent funding is needed. Our second initiative here, and we apologize for the typo, is for a seafood technologist and one office specialist, 2 from the department's shellfish fund to general fund. There have been no increases in transfers from the Water Quality Improvement Fund, as well as from the Submerged Lands Program that have covered the cost of this position. To continue to support the growing shellfish and public health needs, we'll need additional funds for these 2 positions. This position will continue to help with monitoring and managing emerging threats to public health. And finally, we have a reclassification for a marine scientist position that has been approved by the Bureau of Human Resources. These positions in total amount to a request of $277,000. Be happy to answer any questions. Seeing none. And lastly is a cleanup from the biennial budget. As with all biennial budgets, as you are well aware, it's an incredibly lengthy document, and at the end of the final vote, we always discover some things that need to be adjusted and cleaned up. We have a few initiatives that involve cleanups around a couple of initiatives within the agency. First, we have 4 positions in the biennial budget initially created as limited period positions. The department was asking to make them permanent. And then we have several initiatives to move positions to the appropriate account and others that correct the allotment. So these positions include a marine resource scientist 2, a 3, and a 4. And then we're making a marine resource scientist 1 permanent, a public service manager 1 permanent, and a biologist 2 permanent as well. The total impact in FY 22 is $832,000, and in 2023 just over $1 million. That concludes, other than just giving you just a total overview, this total request for the supplemental for general fund is just over $2 million. It includes 1.6 million in federal funds and another 87, almost 88,000 in other special revenue accounts. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions associated with the supplemental budget.
Okay, so thank you, Commissioner. And can we stop sharing unless we need to bring it back? And Representative McCreight has a question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, thank you. Could you go back to the central services transfer and reclasses? Just tell me a little bit more about that. To support the in lieu fee. I think I'd lost concentration.
Okay, so in lieu fee is part of the transfer and reclasses. That is a position that's currently within the Bureau of Sea Run Fisheries and Habitat. We created that position in full cooperation with the Department of Transportation. You may have heard of the in lieu fee program for as it relates to impact to water resources, whether it's rivers, marshes, streams. And whenever there is a transportation project, a company would pay in to that fund. And then that fund is then distributed to offset or mitigate against the impacts. Here, what DOT and DMR, working cooperatively with the Army Corps of Engineers, did was create a program for in lieu fee where Atlantic salmon would be potentially impacted based on road crossings or bridge work or anything of that nature. So the funds have not come in as we anticipated over the short term, but we always knew with that program that they would kind of ebb and flow depending on where work was being focused. So we do expect that program to see hopefully an infusion of money in the future. But what we have found in the interim is the value of this position working on a more broader scope of work within Sea Run Fisheries as it pertains to general habitat restoration and fish passage needs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. So DMR currently has a backlog in processing aquaculture lease applications, and the bill that we failed to pass in this committee, part of that bill, it's my understanding, would provide additional resources. We have some large scale projects, so on and so forth. Is there anything in this supplemental budget that will help meet that need?
Thank you for that question, Representative McDonald. Actually, the need for the issues around the backlog was actually addressed in the original supplemental budget, and I just lost you. Where'd you go? She disappeared. Oh, there you are. You went from the top row to the bottom row there real quickly. In the original biennial budget, we established 2 new resource management positions. We are currently in the middle of hiring those. By the time we got out of the supplemental, had it approved for July 1, got the positions approved then by Big HR with their new FJAs, and then announced and published to hire. It takes quite a bit of time from beginning to end. But I am pleased to say that we hope to have 2 new hearings examiners on board very soon. And we expect to see those backlogs start to be addressed as the positions do come online.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for that. I don't have any other questions. Yeah, there's Representative McCray.
Sorry, one more. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner, back to the issue of whales. We talked about the legal defense fund monies, and not legal defense fund, but for the lawsuits. But what about any other needs around that huge issue?
Yeah, there's a lot of needs around right whales. Honestly, we thought we would see a very big infusion of federal dollars into the program as it relates to right whale research and work around ropeless technologies, in particular, not necessarily the ropeless component, but the subsea gear location work, the modeling work that we need to do for habitat, inshore habitat, to continue to show what we know will show only from a scientific viewpoint, the lack of presence of right whales in the inshore waters. I mean, I could go on and on. We expected to see at a minimum of a $10 million appropriations, but because the federal government has not made any final determinations on FY22 budget, we are likely going to see a continuing resolution into the future. This is actually one of the areas that I met with the governor over the weekend to discuss those greater needs beyond what we had hoped to have funded with those federal dollars. So we may in fact be bringing something more forward in a change package, and we're trying to balance what's happening in Washington, probably all shouldn't cross our fingers and hope we're going to see a lot of movement in Washington real quickly, but there could be some movement on the federal budget. If not, then we may need to consider some additional dollars. And if we do, we would bring it forward in a change package.
Good.
Thank you.
Representative Thorne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last one of the day, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you. I hear of our U.S. senators talking about offshore wind development to include Maine. Is there anything being brought before you on that level that we haven't discussed here at the state level?
Thank you for that question, Representative Thorne. You've got questions that don't really portray a freshman legislator, Representative, so well done. There's a lot going on with offshore wind. It goes well beyond the senators representing the state of Maine. It is a high priority. Offshore wind is a high priority for the Biden administration. BOEM, the group that is the federal agency as part of Interior that is currently moving forward with the leasing of large scale areas along the East Coast. They just did some off the Mid-Atlantic, and the total bids were well over $1 billion for leasing these areas. We expect to see the leasing of areas within the Gulf of Maine coming up very soon. As you all know, Governor Mills has been very supportive of a experimental wind lease area. An application has been submitted on that within the Gulf of Maine for floating technology to advance that work. The Department of Marine Resources role is a very finite role as it pertains to participation to understand the impacts of commercial fishing as we move forward, and more importantly, understanding both the impacts that wind and a power line route could have on the resources that the commercial industries depend on. So as part of the last round of, or the original biennial budget, and Meredith is on, and so she can correct me with the numbers, but I believe $2 million was allocated for offshore wind research. And we are moving forward with a very specific plan related to that work, thanks to the support here of this committee in the legislature. And we should see, is there additional ARPA money, Tidra, associated with that as well? Or Meredith? No, there is none. Right now, I think we feel very comfortable with the amount of research dollars that we have. We will need to add on what we are calling limited period positions. They're not legislative headcount, so they're not permanent in nature. And we'll be adding as many as 5 marine biologist positions to the mix in order to help carry out the research work that we have planned. Oh, you're on mute, Representative.
Squirrel. My primary concern with that is that the approach from the U.S. Senate side of the House would supersede the governor's 10-year moratorium on offshore wind research and development. So, yeah.
So the moratorium is state water specific. BOEM's interest and President Biden's interest in offshore wind, he certainly has laid out a plan for expansion of lease areas within the Gulf of Maine, off the coast of Maine, potentially. To what distance, we don't know. That is, Deputy Commissioner Mendelson is very, very engaged in this process. I know the governor is very concerned about the rate of speed that this is happening. The whole idea is to study a research area before you go to a 100 turbine area. But I'm afraid that the federal government is moving at a much faster pace than we may be comfortable with.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Representative- Representative Hutchins, go ahead.
Thank you. Pat, a question about the federal offshore wind turbines. If they are intending to come ashore in the state of Maine, that means crossing submerged land, which, to my way of reading the regulations, are that any substantive change of Maine-owned land requires a 2/3 vote of the legislature, which would mean to come ashore, the legislature would have to vote a 2/3 support of damaging fishing in the coast of Maine, which seems to me would be a hard sell. Is there some way that the federal government can subvert that regulation of ours that requires a 2/3 vote to come across? It seems like this committee should be supporting that statement positively ahead of times.
So I'm going to phone a friend here and ask for the deputy's assistance, because she's very much in the minutia on this. I could muddle through an answer, but I'm not sure it would be as clear as what she can give you.
I was afraid you were going to do that, Commissioner. Hi, everyone. Meredith Mendelson, Deputy Commissioner. Representative Hutchins, I'm not familiar with the requirement that you're referring to, but as you mentioned, a cable coming ashore from one of the from an offshore wind farm would require a submerged lands lease to cross state waters. Typically, those leases are conducted under sort of the normal operations of the submerged lands program. I don't think that this cable necessarily, to my knowledge, would trigger a different process than would currently be required for other types of cables, the electric cables that go to offshore islands, for example. So I'm not aware of an additional burden that would require a 2/3 majority of the legislature.
Well, I may possibly have that wrong, but we have used that 2/3 vote before. 2 years ago, we changed the use of a very small piece of land in northern Maine to help a sporting camp up there, and it required a 2/3 vote because we were doing it on Maine-owned land, and submerged land is Maine-owned land.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm not familiar with this. It may be that if there isn't existing authority for an agency to conduct that kind of authorization under its existing authorities, I'm not sure, but I'm happy to try to look into that question and bring back a response to you.
It seems like we should do that, because if that's a way to stop offshore wind off the state of Maine, it's worth the trouble, because offshore wind is going to be a huge problem for the fishing industry.
Let us go back and look at that. And you said that was used when, Representative Hutchins?
About 2 years ago, and I think it was for a bill that John Martin brought forward for a friend of his or something that had a camp somewhere up near his area, and they had to have just a little piece of pie of this piece of publicly owned land, and it required a 2/3 vote of the legislature to do it. Now, also the Clean Energy Corridor people that were against it tried to use this for the Clean Energy Corridor, and they couldn't because it was already a power corridor, so that didn't work. And maybe because we have some submerged cables going to islands, maybe it won't work for what I'm hoping it would work for. But it certainly is a substantive change to Maine-owned land. And any way I can stop offshore wind, I'm going to try.
Yeah, the submerged lands laws, the way I have read them in the past, would not qualify here, but let us go back and try to understand what that use was in northern Maine. Okay.
Okay.
Representative Hepler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just actually going to respond to Representative Thorne. I've been it's easy to sort of get up to speed on what's happening with the offshore wind. I've been or watching the fisheries working group on offshore wind that you can get to from the governor's office on energy, and I think they're months. So anyway, pretty interesting stuff.
Good. Okay. It looks quiet. All right. Not the commissioner or the deputy commissioner or the department. We'll let them go. And thank you very much for all of that.
In the past, Senator, this committee has always been very supportive of giving a letter of support to AFA associated with our budget request. And I don't know if that is possible this year, but obviously any support we can receive from this committee, I appreciate. Your point earlier in the day about sometimes we don't ask for enough actually was the driver behind the conversation I had with the governor over the weekend. So I appreciate that viewpoint.
Excellent, and we will definitely do that. Lynn, you must have a template from previous times. Great.
I do, yes.
All right, and if it needs to be before next week, then could you send it around by email after you're done, and we'll do it that way for approval or review. If it doesn't, we'll look at it down the road. Yeah. Representative McCray.
Just a question on that point. Is the process, it's a process question. We're going to take votes. Is that when we send a letter or yeah?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Usually you go to the joint hearing with AFA, and then you have a separate work session on the budget where you vote on your recommendations. And last time it was in that letter that the committee sent back to AFA where you expressed that support in general for the department.
After we voted, along
After
with
you vote,
voting,
yeah.
we sent. Okay, perfect. Then we will do it in that order. Any more great ideas rumbling around in anyone's brain? All right. Well, thank you for all that. We'll see you next week, Commissioner. Committee, if there's anything not related to the budget that you wanted to say before we go. Seeing Representative Thorne.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'm sure everybody will second that, and we'll just let Linda raise her hand. She might need something from us before we disappear.
Well, I just want to tell you that there will be a new jacket coming around on 1916. So keep your eyes open for that. You'll have to re-sign that virtually.
Great. And is anybody still not up to date that you need to call out here? Shame them publicly? Okay, good. Well, that's great. And
if
Lynn,
I may,
Lynn?
Mr. Yes, I believe that Representative Fockingham did not have an opportunity to vote on LD 1916.
I have a note that I have to look down to see, so I missed it here, but thank you for that reminder. Representative Fockingham, I don't know if you want to support this bill, but if you do, it's 1916. Want me to read you the title, or are you good?
If you can add me to that as a yes vote, that would be great.
Done.
Thank you.
Okay. Going once, going twice. All those in favor of adjourning and seeing you next week.